Hey guys, how you doing today? We are the 732 Review Crew with our first podcast. This one is titled Between Two Mics. So I am Mike E.
I am Mike.
And I'm between two mics. I'm Joe.
Now, that was originally our discussion name when we had discussed, making the channel. That was the first name that came up, and we were like, nah.
It was my idea, and they hated it because it made it sound like a podcast / talk show like we're doing right now.
So we're taking the name and we are rocking with it for our podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be the fun part for this. Hopefully this is going well. I'm looking to check the stream right now. Hopefully not laggy. It says it looks
This is
good.
our first time doing this,
This is our
so.
first time. Hello from sunny New York City. Hi, Dimitri. How's the stream looking, guys? Let us know, because this is our first one. So.
Oh, Dimitri's in chat?
Yeah, Dimitri's in chat.
What up, Dimitri?
So we got some questions and whatnot, but first we're gonna, just have a little discussion before we get to all that stuff. It says for me everything looks good on my side, so just let me know how it looks on your side, because we should be good to go. And I'm just checking to make sure. Besides that, the first thing we should talk about before we start this podcast and discuss the Expanse is how we became two as a channel. So I met Mike and Joe through Eddie, who's in our other videos. He is my best friend for a while and roommate.
Yeah, I mean, technically, Mikey and I have known each other since 4th grade, actually, if we want to go there.
You can barely hear me. Sorry. You can barely hear me?
You're talking real quietly for once.
I was
Yeah,
talking
you
quiet.
are talking
Yeah, sorry.
really quietly.
So, what'd you say? I'm sorry, keep going.
I said we met in 4th grade.
Yeah, we knew since 4th grade, but
Yeah.
we weren't friends. We just kind of knew each other
Yeah.
and then went our separate ways as you do in school.
And
Yeah,
me,
well, I went to a different high school and stuff, so.
And me and Mikey may or may not have met one night because we were both mall rats who would go every Friday night and just do nothing and be degenerates.
So, however, Mike and I never knew each other until Applebee's.
Yeah, when we worked together along with Eddie. And now look at this.
It was a recipe for success, I guess.
Absolutely.
Now,
But I mean, we've all known. I mean, Mike, I've known you for that's 8 years.
We had a decade.
No, I think it's like 8
close.
years.
We're close.
8 years, and yeah, I mean, I've known Mikey over half my life technically, which is crazy.
which is crazy to think about, but we only really started talking because my roommate would invite our friends, which is his sister and her fiance, which you guys are friends more with. You guys would come over for board game night. We'll first start off as poker night, became board game night as we became obsessed with board games, and then it became like magic night. But one day I was just kind of like, hey guys, I showed them like a reaction type video, and I was like, do you guys want to try doing this? Because it looks kind of cool.
Well, because before that, we had tried with another one of our friends to do a podcast.
Yeah.
And it was really fun, but we didn't have Mikey.
Yeah.
We
You know how to drive, so I'm the driving force behind a lot of it, I would say, because I edit. I'm the one that makes the schedule down to like trying to, get the hours.
You do everything. You do the editing, scheduling. You do the surveying for our new shows. I mean, Mikey, this is your channel. We're just here.
Yeah. That's
Hi, friends.
definitely.
Hey, Ronan. So just one more time, guys. Is it sounding better for you on your side? Looks better. I checked the stream in terms of quality. We look like we're good right now, so I'm pretty happy with that because this is our first attempt, and this laptop's a little older. Besides that,
I guess we can just go into. I don't know if we've ever discussed like our favorite movie / TV show, like our personal favorites.
I'll say, let's just try to give top 3 TV shows. Anything for me. Number 1 would be Band of Brothers. Number 2, it's hard for me to like come up with all this stuff, but I am a very true. I have to say,
It's got to be an anime. There's got to be an anime in there.
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is probably number 2.
There you go.
'Cause that's really good. Or One Piece, but I read One Piece more than I watch it, so I can't really consider myself like as
I
a
gotcha.
top show for me. Number 3, I would probably say either The Office, which is something I've loved as in terms of humor, or Friends, because that's something like I watched with my mom and then went back and watched myself. And like when you watch it with your parents when you're younger, it's a whole different story than watching it by yourself, especially when it applies to you when you're in your mid-20s and the characters are that way. For movies, it's probably Star Wars Episode 3. I love American History X, which is a rare thing for me to say. You probably didn't expect that to come out.
I didn't, no.
Because I do have some culture with movies. And 3 is probably Alien.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, TV shows for me, South Park is definitely my favorite TV show of all time.
Huh.
I just love it. I especially even now, I think they're a lot more satirical and a lot less random. But it's still definitely my favorite. Then I'm gonna say Avatar, probably.
Yeah.
Like The Last Airbender. I don't know if I liked Korra more or the OG. They're really close for me, so
Yeah.
I'd say both series, I guess.
Korra is actually
and-
really good. Avatar is. I can't believe I didn't bring that up in my discussion
Yeah.
too, because Avatar is an amazing show.
So that's definitely top 3 for me. And the last TV show, I'm gonna probably say Breaking Bad. As far as like a more serious series, movies, my favorite's gonna be Django Unchained.
You have a poster up there for that.
Yeah, I do have a poster up there for.
And
Stranger Things honorable mention for me.
I will also admit that Joe has asked for us to watch Django Unchained, and
It's a little, yeah. It's
It's a bit much for you.
we're unsure
too.
how to handle that. I'll just say.
I'm actually just gonna, I'm gonna say Django Unchained, Pulp Fiction, and I don't know, and Fight Club. I'll go Fight Club.
Interesting.
Sure.
Now,
just because I've seen it
Got a little bit of
literally,
variety,
I've
yeah.
seen Fight. Well, I've seen Fight Club like 15 times.
I haven't seen Fight Club.
So,
Yeah, no,
Like-
I'm gonna go off with for TV shows. Honestly, top pick Law and Order and the whole family of it, like SVU.
okay.
It's just like iconic and like I don't know. I've watched so much of it, and if it's on, whether it's like at someone's house or a doctor's office, like I'll always watch it. I'll enjoy it. Like it's one of those timeless things. It's run for like 20 years. I mean, come on.
Yeah, well, you always have the guy trying to pick up boxes, and he's like being real shady.
And
for
Ice-T
some
walks
reason.
in, and it's just like, someone just murdered. Pay attention to me. I mean, Avatar: The Last Airbender was my second pick. You
Sure.
stole the thunder of that
Yeah,
one. Korra, I would not put next to it.
Wow, okay.
I did really enjoy Korra, but I would not say that it's as iconic.
What would you say?
So,
To me, I
Alien
think
was
that
apparently, by the way, the basis for the Expanse's aesthetic.
That makes a lot of sense.
like,
In terms of spacesuits and stuff, think about it.
sure, okay.
Spaceships.
I mean, it's a little darker of a vibe, I
yeah.
think, but I
Interesting.
just mean as like the future in the Expanse is like, oh, it's good, but it's also bad, and people still treat each other like shit. Alien is just like everything just seems kind of like fucked in like the deep darkest depths of the
Yeah,
universe.
That is true, honestly.
So.
Alien was actually a movie series that my mom showed me, which is weird.
Really?
Yeah, and we went to go see Alien vs Predator when that came out. However,
Well,
that
that's
was.
different. AVP
But-
is like the action redheaded
But I had to watch
stepchild
the
of
first-
the series.
I had to watch the first ones to get into it.
Sure. AVP is a great movie,
was unhinged
though.
with that.
I think I've only seen one Alien, but as per usual with Mikey interrupting me.
I was gonna say feel like the difference for me between the avatars is I think Korra does a better job of world building,
Sure.
and like really selling like
see, like, how the
the
world
world
has
has
developed, yeah.
changed. Yeah, I think
it's
that's
great.
what I probably like the most.
Yeah,
about
I'm not
it.
saying Korra is bad by any means. I know it got a lot of flack when it came out, but I still think it's a great show, and I've watched the whole thing and would probably rewatch it. But in terms of just like
the characters.
how
I
it hit,
think.
and like I've rewatched Avatar like twice, and it's still always an enjoyable experience, and always hits harder than Korra does.
Which I'm excited for the live action that comes out this month, which we will be watching, so it'll be cool to watch
Yeah.
that. But now,
Mike's still got he's got one more TV
I'm
show
serious.
and his top 3 movies.
I love. I'm excited for that to come out this month. I'm so excited. We talked about it last night too. I'm very excited for that.
Yeah.
oh man, I
you
just
talking
have
about today,
no
too?
opinions.
Shut up. We're moving on.
No, I mean, for TV shows, for third place is hard. I mean, I could pick a wide variety of them that really, I mean, you got Dragon Ball Z, you got Hellsing, you got a variety of animes that have just like, I will always rewatch and always love rewatching.
okay.
But I really can't put a third one, even though that's kind of...
Cop out.
Yeah, no, I'm
and-
sorry about that.
Not even The Expanse.
Expanse is definitely going to be... I mean, listen, I'm making other people watch it with me right now.
Yeah, you know what? I should have included The Expanse in my top 3 actually, but
I mean, you made us watch it.
Tell me the new Alien couple will be coming.
yeah, I'm actually I'll say The Expanse instead of
interesting.
Breaking Bad. Anyways,
It's
I mean,
up
my
there.
movies are a quick wrap up. I mean, it's Man with the Iron Fist, _1. I've bought the movie like 5 times.
dude, we're not watching it.
I know.
Let it go.
Well, if it's a personal pick, we have to watch
Then
it.
we got to go for Stanley Kubrick's Doctor Strange Love.
Interesting.
Doctor Strange Love. It's
Okay.
Never seen
Doctor
either of
Strangelove
these.
or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb, I think is the full title. It's a really good movie, and I'm trying to remember if there's anything inflammatory because we might be able to just watch it if we get anyone who cares. And then third one, which is inflammatory, which is why I've never wanted to watch it, is Blazing Saddles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mel Brooks is great.
Mel Brooks is great. I love
You have
his,
terrible
I love his
taste.
Robin Hood.
Yeah, I mean it's just
Yeah.
Mel Brooks is great.
His
That
Robin
is
Hood
really
great,
that is
especially
really
with,
funny.
What's the blind? I forgot the blind guy's name. I'm sorry, but you know what I'm talking about, the blind guy in the Robin Hood.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know his name.
You watched
We
it
don't
when I
know
was
names
little,
on
and I
this
had a
channel.
great time. We're back.
Yeah.
We're back.
Who are
We'll
you?
do good when we write them down. So, anything else you want to add before
No,
we move to our
we
discussion?
were
No,
just
that's
trying to
it.
do an
Yeah.
opener and wait for some
Perfect, no
people to
problem.
come in.
Sorry for
and stuff,
interrupting you
so.
4 times.
That's fine, dude.
I'm trying to manage all this while listening to you.
Yeah,
It's
you're
all
good.
right. Now, moving into the Expanse, we did have some things that we wanted to talk about before we got into some questions, which we do have some questions both in chat already. I see a lot of you in chat. That's pretty cool. Just thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
More than 10 people. That's awesome.
Yeah, we
can't
appreciate it. I think this is kind of like our final love note esque thing for the.
Oh yeah, we have the game.
We
have
Mike,
book
tell
club.
me about the book. You're reading the first book. How's that going?
Yeah, so there's actually a question I saw in the YouTube comments about us reading the books going forward, and I think it was how do we plan on reading it? Originally, I was planning on starting with where we left off with the show, but Mikey has told me that we're starting from the beginning. So I've been reading. I'm most of the way through it. I was hoping to be done with the first book by the time of this podcast.
I remember you had a very interesting take on reading the book that you told us about, and it was that there's a lot of dick.
Yeah, that's
There
exactly
is
right.
a lot of
The show
reference
does.
to penis in the book. I was very confused
It's like Game of Thrones in space, you said.
because they even talk about it with the catheter.
Well, let me get
We don't need to get into
Spoilers.
catheters.
But
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, no, I mean, I was genuinely surprised by how often they mentioned dick. I mean, I'm 300 pages through it, and it's like 3 or 4 times, which isn't a ton.
Wait,
but
that's
like,
not a lot. I thought it'd be more
compared to
than
the show, which never
Okay.
made mention of it, or most books that don't.
Yeah,
really talk
no,
about
the
it.
show definitely.
But like
It's more than average.
Yeah, it's more than average. I was very like surprised.
Interesting. Now, for that, when you finish that, you start book 2, and then I start book 1. When I finish book 1, I don't think Joe's going to be reading, so we can have a discussion on that. We also will be looking to play the games, which will be the Telltale game, which we can try to do on stream, so we don't have to worry about, coordinating a time together, but we can just do over Discord into sessions.
Yeah.
Because we want to see where it is. Now, as far as I know, the Discord game, the game that comes out, the Telltale one, is the backstory of Camino Drummer. So for those
Which
who
is
haven't
awesome.
experienced it, you can come experience it with us. We don't have a date for that yet, but we'll be looking into that shortly because it is, looks pretty accessible for us, all who are PC gamers. Besides that, moving into this, for our personal discussion, the first thing I want to bring up is favorite season. So, do you guys have a season that you think of is you're like, that season you could show somebody
I
this
do.
season of The Expanse, and then that's all you have to show them? For me, I think I would say season 3.
Is that the gate season?
That is the season with the gate,
Yeah.
as well as with the race, the racer and
Yeah,
whatnot.
gate season,
I am
absolutely.
that guy and stuff. I feel like that season gives a great
Really?
feel.
I'm going season 5.
Season 5 is
all
also
the
my
way. I
second
mean,
one, I would
it
say.
starts off all firing in all cylinders. They have the big bad dude who makes sense. It's not like proto because season 3 it's like what's the proto, you know what I mean? Like it's an ongoing story. Whereas it's like here's this fucking guy who's a crazy terrorist who succeeds. Or partially succeeds. He succeeds enough, anyways.
Right.
And I don't know. I just think that the story there is great, and all of the characters at that point are pretty far along developed. And I mean, so I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna say season 5, even though there's definitely a lot of spoilers, and I could show someone season 5 first.
Yeah.
But I'd be like, if someone asked me what's your favorite season, like what's the one that it's season 5 for
What
me.
would you say?
I mean, the Ring season's probably going to be the best one in my mind, but I'm going to go with, season 2 is also a banger, because that's when we get, like, Project Caliban.
Got 13 episodes that season.
Yeah.
There's a lot
season
of
2 is pretty
twists.
crazy.
There's a lot of
52
twists
as well. The 52, which made all of us cry with Champa, the belter who says like, no, not today, and he puts her back on.
Yeah, no, like, season
that.
2 is actually... I know that's the question we got later, but I think season 2 might be where really made me love the show.
There's a lot of mystery in season 1 and 2,
Somebody
and I
said-
think they do a good job of.
But
of
season
that.
2 does a nice blend, because season 1 was a lot of mystery,
and no answers.
and not a lot of action. Like there were scenes, but there wasn't
Season
anything crazy.
2 was a lot of.
Season 2 was crazy.
It was tension for the building the characters. It was Holden's breaking point, and then him coming back to sanity. Because remember, he was chasing his white whale in that season, trying to get revenge for. They were trying to get revenge for Sirius Station.
But they're constantly playing with you. So like, is Naomi on their side? Is Naomi like undercover? There's still a lot of things that you're unsure about. So.
And that's also the season where you're not sure,
who to trust. Because it's Anderson Dawes and Fred Johnson and
I always trust Anderson Dawes.
You always but there's also like you thought you could trust Holden in that season, and then he almost breaks until he's comes back at the end. And you're kind of like, you feel like the group's falling apart in season 2 because it's so chaotic. Because Naomi and
she leaves, but then doesn't leave.
But Amos leaves with her.
Yeah.
And and we have that great scene with the this is the warship Rocinante. We have target locked everybody.
Hit their stride and absolutely. Seasons. Because the first one it was very like they're still learning everything. They're still learning.
And it's still a pseudo murder mystery.
Yeah.
Season 5 was pretty great. Every single episode of season 5 was great, like Joe was saying too. It's a masterpiece, so I definitely agree with that right there.
Season 1 is all Miller, dude.
It is. Season 1 is the Book of Miller.
Remember
we talked about that?
Well, that's actually something that from book 1 of the series is the chapters are only Holden and Miller. There's no Avasarala.
Well, there's a comment about that in here.
Okay.
She's that's the thing. There's a difference. They put her into season 1 for the TV show,
right?
But she's not in until like potentially a different book.
Yeah. But that was a jarring thing when I started reading it because I was like, okay, Holden Miller. I'm like, where's everybody else? But that's how it's written.
They had to make it more attractive for the viewers on TV by giving us a more diverse cast in terms of just having different names to go to because you want to go across to different places because without that you have no way of knowing what's going on Earth.
Plus, the actor who plays Avasarala is like amazing. Top tier.
She's top tier. I didn't realize
the entire show.
But she's in season like what's it called? Mass Effect as a character, and I went back and was listening. I was like, holy crap!
There's a lot of voice actors.
There's a lot of voice actors all over sci-fi that are in
like
Mass
no
Effect,
one else could have been that character.
I couldn't think of an easy replacement.
Yeah.
Season.
Next question
is for us personally. Favorite episode. So if you could think of one episode that you could watch over and over and over and just be either emotional hype, whatever. What would you pick?
Go ahead. You go ahead.
It's hard for me to pick one.
I mean, I know what I'm going to say right now. So I'm going to say it's the last episode of season 4 because that was the big culmination of you guessing everything right of Marco Inaros' plan starting from season 1. And
season 4?
Yeah, the end of season 4 with the asteroids hitting Earth.
Season 4.
That's how season 4 ends, and season 5 picks up right where it left off.
Oh, right, with you see the guy on the beach.
Yes. Yep.
Oh.
So I'm gonna say the last episode of season 4, just because it's finally this payoff of this shit that they've been dangling in front of your face that you didn't even know was there.
That is pretty interesting.
So I'm gonna say I don't know what I guess episode 10 or whatever it is.
10, yeah. I forgot
so
about
yeah,
that completely.
that's what I'm gonna say.
It's a hard one, but the one that like stands out with my terrible memory has to be the one where we actually get introduced to the Project Caliban guy when they just murder everyone on Ganymede outside, and Bobby gets
Bobby gets mix of
inundated.
season
I want to
2.
say it's 2,
Yeah.
But it's because it's mystery, it's action, it sets up a whole bunch of plot lines. I mean, it's just a good episode. I think that's got to be like the one that like really elevated this from like an enjoyable show to something where I was like, wow, all right, like I'm liking it.
Okay.
I can't really. So even though I wrote this question down, it's hard for me to pick an episode because I love a lot of them. I think the one that will stand out forever to me is, like you said, is that one where the nuke hits, because that's the craziest one. But isn't that also
not the nuke, the asteroid?
Sorry, it was like the nuke. Yeah, I'm sorry. Where the asteroid hits. That isn't the same episode where Ashford dies, is it? I think it is, isn't it?
It might be.
It is.
It is.
Yeah.
So that's why it stands out the most to me, because it's just the most tragic.
Man, what a dope fucking scene that is,
it's
too.
the greatest way to end, because
best scene.
How do you make like yourself hate a character more than have him not only hit Earth with a asteroid,
but kill like the favorite new character of the season?
Murder Pampa. Like, come on.
Pampa?
That's grandpa, older. It's the belter term for,
They
actually
Mikey's just hit with the slang.
But they actually they actually call only one girl Pampa in the Expanse. Do you know who that is?
Avasarala?
No,
I don't know.
it's a belter in a term.
Yeah,
Naomi? Oh, damn.
It's like a senior term for like a.
So
okay.
it's like a respectful epithet for like an elder.
Or it's totally not, and we're way off.
So they're saying
You know what?
Joe, I think they're saying that's actually season 5, episode 3. Fred Johnson dies. 3x5. Interesting. Yeah, 4 and 10 we get shown. So I think you're misremembering the episode. It wasn't the finale, but you. Like,
Wasn't it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was like, I don't think that happened because that episode we see the asteroids being sent, and we're like, oh shit.
Gotcha.
Because they get hit by one asteroid, and then the next episode was immediately.
Yeah, I didn't write down answers to these, so.
The fans are right. 'Cause
Hey, no, I know they're right. For the record, I'm not. There's
the next one we lose Nancy Gao in the hit. Remember, because the next 2 hit
Damn,
immediately.
I forgot. About Nancy Gao.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I will never second guess the viewers. I definitely defer to you guys. So
that's fine. Now, in terms of that, not an episode, but do you guys have a favorite moment that happened in the show? It could be anything ranging from
I did write this one down
to something else. Everybody might say I Am That Guy is their favorite moment, but I think my favorite moment is, I think what it impacted me a little more is when Prax says, "This is my best friend in the whole world" to May. Because that's like that's what triggers the I Am This Guy moment. But to me, that was like the biggest growth we ever seen in Amos, because he's like, because he goes from being like that guy to like he's a best friend, and you see even though he's not the one saying it, you see the how much impact it makes on the actor's face. So Wes played that so well, even to the point that down the line you have Amos.
they stayed in touch.
He stayed in touch. And they talk about Prax in some scene, and he's like, "That's my best friend."
Yeah.
And then in his phone it says "best friend."
Did it?
Yeah, his
that's
contact
awesome.
had best friend.
I also like that they did a tie back to Prax in the later season, where like he was still actively doing his thing and trying to help the best way he could.
Prax is great for
which
that.
was plants.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a huge moment, but do you think that...
I actually felt like that was also important that they mentioned that Prax had made this big breakthrough to try to help Earth like regrow everything, because that was only possible because Amos never let him be someone who he wasn't. He kept Prax on
I'm
the
laughing at a comment that says your plant could use some light love back there.
Why?
It needs some water, I think is what they're saying.
Oh, no, it's just sometimes the leaves die. I just have to trim it. That's all.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Comments may argue with us on that. I don't know.
No,
wait.
okay.
I'm sorry.
I mean, I agree with you that was a huge moment with Prax and Amos and everything.
Speaking of the plant guy.
But you really think that he had more character growth from the Prax interaction than his whole interaction with Clarissa?
Yeah.
He has like a whole arc about it. It seems like he's realizing...
He has a whole arc with Clarissa.
I think
Prax too.
Clarissa impacts him more than Prax impacts him. I think Amos impacts Prax a lot.
100%.
Right?
Well,
I'd say they're kind of
100%.
flip-flopped.
Well, Amos is... I think Prax is what we start to see the chips in the his armor a little bit, which is then dug into a little bit more by Anna, and finally Clarissa is what really breaks him open. But the fact is, I feel like Prax is what starts Amos on his path visually, to us at least, of protecting the innocent.
So you're just a big fan of prequels, is what I'm hearing.
I like
sure.
That's just my opinion.
Well, really, because I actually think what Prax proves to Amos more than anything is that Amos definitively knows who the fuck he is and like what his role is in the world.
Yeah.
Like that's to me what he gets out of it.
I think it's super cool to
like he realizes his power is his lack of emotion.
Exactly. His power is his lack of emotion, and his biggest thing is his ability to for me was to detect his surroundings, perceive his surroundings and threats.
Yeah,
because that first
you see a lot of that,
even
even like season 1. Yeah.
He takes that situation.
My favorite scene is gonna be Kamina Drummer announcing to the Belt and Marco Inaros that like she's ready to fuck around and find out with her speech that ends with "Live shame, die empty."
Yes.
Just because the delivery is like, damn. I was like, I fucking would if she told me to. So I just really like that. But that was also because that was something I had been hoping to see Drummer become, was like the de facto leader of the future of the belt because she seems like she's the best person for the job in my mind. And at the end of that speech, I'm like, it's gonna happen. I mean, it kind of solidified it in my mind that that's the route it was gonna go. So
one of the comments from a viewer is Earth got the protomolecule and tried to make weapons. Mars got it and tried to make weapons. Belters got it and made food. Way to feed people, technically.
with how they analyzed the protomolecule for the yeast.
yeah. Sure.
It's,
and then they sold it.
They sold it after, but
Yeah.
Prax was able to get his hands on it long enough to make the super growing yeast to and then he sent that out. So Prax is one of the true heroes of this current situation.
Prax
Yeah.
gets a Nobel Peace Prize.
But like I said, that's all in thanks to Amos.
Yes.
Because Prax probably wouldn't have been the same after.
Absolutely.
Now-
I mean, Amos was very impactful.
Yeah. So,
I mean, for
your favorite scene?
It's a very small scene, but just like rewatching the show, Avasarala has got to be my favorite.
Oh.
So I'm going way back to episode 3 of season 1, where she actually goes and meets with Holden's mom.
Oh, windmills.
Because number 1, it shows how stylish she is.
Oh, her drip.
It shows number 2 how ruthless but like human she is, which she can be when she has the opportunity to be. And 3, like it really lets you see like her character. It gives you a bunch of opening into the backstory of Holden. I mean, it's like a big moment.
Yeah, I would
that
agree.
Sets up a lot and really establishes her character.
Exactly.
And it lets you know
Now-
who she is, definitively.
Yeah.
Because the whole time she's like so nice, but is also like, I will destroy you,
Yeah,
like
100%.
simultaneously.
What would you say? I'm actually before I trigger you, I'm gonna read you this comment. So I think this is from Thomas. I think Amos sees Prax as a person to protect, but Clarissa is someone he wants to become a better person. So it's two different purposes. Because Clarissa doesn't need protection for the most part until she starts to get weaker. But he wants her to be better, and he wants her to do better.
Yeah, that's why I was saying I feel like
Yeah.
Clarissa impacts Amos more, whereas Amos impacts Prax
But Amos
more.
wants to help somebody, so he really. Wade Thomas makes a point. He feels capable to help someone because he's matured at this point.
But
We've seen him mature.
I think a big difference between them is that what you're saying is the protector role with Prax, whereas Clarissa's more of his equal because Clarissa could kill him.
I also want to add that another reason I think he even brings Clarissa on the ship is at that point in time, like, it's kind of, there's a lot of tension there. Like, no one's really, I feel like he just needs like a homie in his corner.
Yeah.
Not that Holden and Naomi aren't, but like, there's just a lot going on. And Clarissa is like this beautiful example of like, she's just like, happy to be there. She's like, hey, yeah, I'll go fix it, sure. Like, she really is just happy to be there, whereas everyone is stressed the fuck out because they all have so much going on.
Yeah.
And she's just kind of like a nice,
And that's really exemplified in
right? Like, even though they never actually say that, that's kind of
well,
what
no,
I
even
believe.
because like the one scene where when Naomi has to go do a spacewalk after the whole ordeal, and Clarissa just jumps into it and takes over that role so that they don't have to be stressed out, and she's just like, Holden's like, don't ever do that, and she's like, I was just trying to help you guys. You seem like you got some stuff going
but
on.
when Holden says that, he does also acknowledge like she's like
of
part
course,
of the
and
crew.
that's what got
so
her into the crew.
yeah.
But, like,
There's also that adorable moment though where Amos does acknowledge that Clarissa is to him what Naomi was to him before, because she says like chief and stuff like that. So that teacher, master apprentice, type thing, and tradesman, is that you guys know.
And I'm gonna say notable mention for a scene that I really enjoyed on the last season that I feel like we didn't ever discuss that much was Amos saving Bobby, like throwing his like meat shielding over Bobby.
Oh yeah.
Just because I was like, fuck, dude, like. Because I don't know, I just really like that, I guess. Because I also totally thought he was dead.
Bobby's
like
got a-
100%.
Bobby's
I was
got
like,
a
fuck.
ton of good scenes.
Yeah, Bobby's great also. We don't have to
all
go
of her
into all of them.
interactions with people are just amazing.
Yeah, I agree. Now,
And she's always the same. Like, she falters for a little, but even when she's faltering, she's like working for Psy, right? Or what's his name?
I know you're talking
You're
about
talking about the Belter?
the Martian.
Not the
No, the Martian.
Martian police
cop.
officer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Martian detective. I'm sorry. It's not Sal or something.
He said Psy.
I don't know why I was thinking Psy.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about though.
We don't know names on
When
the
she
show.
falters
But
because
even
she's
then,
money.
she's like still the same person. She's just the same person doing the wrong thing.
That was actually one of the other moments I was thinking about for my favorite was when she gets into her power armor on Mao's ship when Avasarala and them are pinned down, and she's just like, I'm going to murder everybody.
That's great. Now, speaking of characters, do you have... We'll talk about main and side, and and as well as one-time characters. Do you have a favorite main crew character?
Well, main crew.
Part of the Rocinante?
Okay.
For the whole show.
For a whole show.
For the whole show.
Not somebody who like we're not going to include like Clarissa. Alex, Amos, Naomi, Holden, those four.
Okay.
Do you have one?
I mean, Amos is an easy pick.
Sorry, Shud.
Is there any qualifications we're using on this? Or is it just favorite overall?
Favorite overall, just a character you like.
I mean, it's Amos.
It's Amos. Yeah, I have to say Amos too.
Go.
I mean, it's definitely not Naomi.
I know.
She's my favorite for character arc.
She's had a great character arc because she went from being a character that we didn't trust to a character.
She went from a character.
Well, she makes the same mistakes.
We understand her
times, so
motives, though.
Well, she's extremely real. But hold on, let's.
Anyways, so I guess I'm gonna say I mean. Amos, yeah, but I guess Holden just to not have the same answer.
Amos, this is great because Amos also is one of those characters that has a great character arc.
I mean, Holden is easy to like because he's the paladin of the show.
The White Knight.
Yeah.
He's white knighting across the galaxy.
He is. Even I actually appreciate that they mocked him later in the show, like season 5 or 6. Avasarala is like
Isai?
Yeah.
So
because he's like, oh, Isai, okay. He's like, oh, we could just talk to Marco and explain that it doesn't matter anymore and that bigger things are at stake. And she's like, wow, you really are. Like, you're no bullshit, huh? Like, you really believe that? Like, he's not going to do that. Are you dumb? I mean, so I like that they made fun of him for that later in the show. So
I love how they all grow to each other, too, because they were also apart and didn't trust each other. And then they became a family by the end of it, which you can tell that, even though they are, XO, Holden was the XO, and captain and this and that, they are closer than just, workers, especially because they all have an equal share in the ship, which, means they all are equal in his eyes, even though Holden is, the captain, when they're not doing stuff, Holden, they're still equals,
Yeah.
They're not like, boss or something like that.
I also really appreciated Holden at the very last episode when Avasarala is like, do what you're told. And he's like, oh, okay, sure. That's great. Thanks for the opportunity. And he's like, actually, fuck you, Kamina. Here you go. Bye. I just love that he also was like, that he, because he always kind of accepts that he still gets to do what he wants. So
there's a book, actually, if you ever want to read it, it's called The Art of Making the Expanse. Art and Making of the Expanse, which is an art book for the Expanse, seasons 1 through 3. It's a lot of concept arts.
Okay.
That sounds sick.
It sounds pretty cool. We might look into that eventually, just after the collection. But
is that all of our? Oh yes, side characters.
Side characters. So side characters.
We gotta start getting into that.
Bobby and whatnot. So obviously, one of the comments which I'm gonna read right now, it came from our Discord, which relates to it, which is why the reason why I'm reading it. It involves, I believe, Dimitri and Ryab, RYAB. I don't know who that is on YouTube, but I know Dimitri's here. Here's an actual question: who is your favorite character, and why is it Drummer?
Well, that's great that you mention it because I've definitely gone on the record saying it. Drummer is definitely my favorite character.
Also, if I ask a question about Holden's 8 parents, will that derail the entire stream?
God, if that's not answered in the books, I'm gonna be mad. If it's literally a red herring.
So why is Drummer my favorite? I think Drummer is my favorite because even like when we first meet her, when she's like working for Fred Johnson, I think there's like a little. I feel like they try to paint it like you don't know if you should trust her or not. She might be like the mole or whatever, and then she just like executes that dude on the spot, if you remember. And
you thought Drummer was a mole at some point?
No, but there's like the question of a mole, and she's super intense. So there, I don't know.
You thought she was
I guess like when you
thought she was a radicalist.
Bro, or that more.
Drummer.
I never doubted Drummer.
I'm saying like when you first meet her, because it's like here's a new character and you don't. Yeah, I mean at that point you don't know.
Never.
But
I agree. I don't never doubt Drummer, especially because she showed a lot of resolve for.
Well, yeah, the moment she fucking got into the shootout and then executed that dude. Yeah, I mean she kind of locked in that she was hardcore as fuck. So.
It's Drummer. As much as I loved Courtyard, Drummer.
Wait, Courtier was your
one of my favorites.
runner-up favorite character?
Up there with Bobby.
I'm sticking with Avasarala.
Okay.
She's strong. She's
Just-
powerful. She wields that fucking baton well. I mean,
But it's not Drummer.
she's fly. I mean,
You
listen,
like
Drummer.
Chrissy? He likes Chrissy.
Drummer's amazing. And Drummer, I would absolutely watch a standalone show of Drummer versus Avasarala because her character is a lot more entertaining to watch. But Avasarala is just, I don't know. I also really, the fact that she's a politician gives her bonus points because I just love political drama.
That's fair. Now,
And Mikey, you were Drummer
Drummer.
also, right?
Now, do you have a
Okay.
favorite one episode character that was only in one episode? For me,
One episode
it'll be
character.
Champa the Belta who gave his position to Naomi on the ship.
For one episode? Oh, I mean, the homeless guy and the cat.
Oh, the one on Earth.
Oh, the one
Oh, the
You mean
cat.
Fat Human or whatever?
Lucky
or Fat
Earther.
Earther. Fat Earther.
Lucky Earther.
Lucky Earther.
Lucky Earther.
But if we're talking like small arcs, like couple seasons or
No.
one season, I mean,
One season Prax.
one season, dude, it's Mercury. He's the perfect written villain.
Okay. You can say that.
Okay, I'm actually gonna do a shout out to the pirate captain from the last season,
the
just
Golden Bough.
because Kamina's like, I'm gonna fucking like last charge like head first
That's a
in,
great
and
one.
he's
my
like,
kid.
he's like, but yeah, I really appreciated that because it was funny because when you first get introduced to him, again, there's you're not sure if he's there to help.
He's shady.
Yeah, he was shady.
They did a great job of making
He's
him
But
shady.
but I also like that I
some viewer
think
comments shortly
Kamina
after
Drummer
that.
was just hard as fuck. So he was like, all right, like I'll fuck with you. Like, let's do this, And I just really appreciated that he was like, fuck you, like I want some of the glory too. So I don't know. I he's my tip of the hat, I guess, to him.
Mikey, you had something for us?
Well, in terms of
Sorry, I don't
You're okay.
remember his name.
no,
So.
I'll read some of the comments in the chat right now before we continue on with personal comments, just because we have some comments.
Well, we're doing viewer questions now, right?
We're doing some
Yeah,
of those.
okay.
We'll get to those. So it says the first comment I saw, which is before the stream even started. This is pretty cool. Thank you. This is from CE Glorak 77. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. This is gonna be a fun pronunciation day. Hi guys. I'm sure your number of questions sent earlier, so I would just throw two I thought about today. One, did the series encourage you to expand your knowledge? Did the series encourage you to expand? That's why I laughed.
Did the
Expanse.
series encourage us to expand?
Your knowledge to understand the series better. Expand.
Oh, in terms of like,
I thought it was a pun.
You know what? I will say it did expand my willingness to rewatch a TV show.
Yeah.
Because I don't really, aside from like South Park or like something more casual, this is like the first real TV show I've ever rewatched. Like I've watched Dexter and Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones, all that stuff, but like I've never been like, I need to rewatch that.
I looked up stuff when
whereas I
comments-
really enjoyed rewatching this.
I looked up stuff when the comments mentioned a lot of stuff. And sometimes while editing, like they'll mention like a planet or like something. So that's when I have my phone out. I can go like look it up while I'm doing that. A lot of the times the comments would literally be like, "We appreciate you so much for this, fans." Like paragraphs long explaining like theories or math equations or how something works or something like that, or like in the real world, and that's why it works in the Expanse. And it's so cool because like we did expand our knowledge, but we didn't have to do it because the fans were ready to. They probably knew what we were going to ask questions about, and they were like, "Okay, this is how it works." And this, it's like thanks for teaching us how shit works.
It's definitely, I think it's also,
Yeah.
I really appreciated it, and it still happens all the time where I'm like, man, that was fucking crazy. How'd they do that? And then someone's like, well, actually,
Actually, my grandfather did that.
that's like
I love
my
it.
favorite part of the internet phenomenon, where it's like, if you want the right answer, don't ask. Just say something incorrect. Someone will correct you.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true.
And man, that is the best way to
It's
learn.
true.
Is just say wrong shit.
It is really true.
so yeah.
About you, did you expand your knowledge? You probably looked up a bunch of space stuff when we started watching this.
I mean, for the most part, the comments were the biggest source of information because I was also trying to avoid spoilers, and I felt like if I looked up anything, there was a chance of it. Just
Sure.
because I'd be like, is Ganymede actually suitable to be a terraform?
An agricultural hub?
And I'm just like, what if it pops up Ganymede Expanse? And I'm like, oh no, I read something I wasn't supposed
Yeah,
to.
you definitely should not do that. Yeah, that's pretty good. Now, here's the second portion of the question from this viewer. There are many characters in the show. What supporting character was one that you did not have expected to stay in this story, but did?
That's a
No,
good question.
That's a
want
good
it.
question.
Okay.
What I forget his name, but the belter that got spaced.
Oh,
And then he just kept showing up as the villain and the henchman.
The younger one.
Remember, he was the one that would talk to Miller about the radio on series.
Diogo.
Diogo.
Oh my god, dude!
Diogo.
I did not expect him to run the whole show.
That's a great scene.
How's he go out again?
He gets
He
crushed by
murdered.
he gets
Naomi.
Oh yeah.
And
The
he was
elevator.
like elevator. Boop.
Well, because that's when they said Naomi doesn't need weapons to kill people, and then he elevators him.
Yeah, well, that was also
great
that
scene.
weird point where
That's what
he
I
was
thought
like
there.
Ashford's henchman, but Ashford wasn't like a bad dude, and Diogo was like,
Diego
The
was
bad
out there for
dude?
fame and
yeah.
history.
It clearly got to him. Yeah.
Oh yes, I agree.
Um.
Now,
Well. Oh, you agree with Mike?
yes.
I guess what's my favorite? Or
I mean, I have another one.
I'm gonna go with what the hell is her name? The journalist.
Monica. That was my
Monica.
other
Yeah,
one.
I'm gonna say Monica.
Monica
Just
came-
because she served like the purpose for a little, but they kept her around, and she did have important
And
moments.
She was really well written because that's like a real character that you could expect to find, like someone who just a lot of like Aaron Brockovich. I think is a good example.
Yeah,
Where
I
it's just
also-
like I gotta figure out what's going on, dude.
I think the thing I can appreciate about Monica the most is that she is consistently always pushing it to the like she'll always go over the line and has to be told like it's over there.
That's
Like,
okay.
you know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah.
no boundaries until she's told.
And even
So,
then, she's like, "Do I have to?"
yeah,
So,
so I appreciate that about
What do
her.
you guys think Duarte is up to? The guy on Laconia. He
Um,
said he's killing gods. Now, we haven't started the book. We do have the books, obviously, in the background behind Joe. Joe turns slightly. You can see them behind him, actually. Joe slightly pivot. There you go. Those are the books right there. What do you think he's doing? He says he's killing gods. Do you think he's going after the dragon things in between there so he can transit through the rings without having to be interrupted? Or is he going for something else?
Well, you see, Mars kills dragons in mythology as the god, so it tracks. Space dragons must die.
It's fine.
you know, I honestly, I have no idea what
Yeah,
the
they
fuck.
leave that wildly
Now,
open.
Yeah, I mean that's why it's such a weird random statement for him to make because they don't want you to be able to figure it out. I mean, my only real guess as to when he says he's trying to kill gods is I think he's saying it more as like he's trying to break barriers,
What- like
like
what?
barriers to knowledge that exists. Like instead of like things being the way they are, he's trying to kill all of that and change everything.
Oh, I thought
so
you were saying something else. I thought you were saying more like how they discussed in the beginning of the show that protomolecule can change. the
that's
human-
what I'm
Oh,
saying.
so
That's
they
what I'm saying.
oh,
Like
so they
he's
can
trying to just like break the system.
breathe in space.
Yeah.
Be,
Yes.
Be
Yeah,
immortal.
I-
live
yeah.
forever. Never die. Be powerful. Like,
Yeah.
Become literally super strong. Like 'cause
I think
type of thing
something to I don't know specifically what or
like Mao is doing.
I don't
that's
think
kind of
so.
what I took it as.
I don't think so.
No?
I think that it's because of the fact that they are on Laconia, and it seemed like they chose Laconia, which has the shipyard that we see doing stuff and
Yeah.
building whatever that construct is. I think he's literally trying to build a warship to kill gods, because it's a builder or whatever shipyard. And the gods would be what killed the builders. But the builders were clearly at war with the space dragons.
Interesting.
Because they lost. It didn't seem like the space dragons like just zipped them out of existence. It seemed like more so than anything, if the builders were trying to fight them, but as they transited rings or something, the space dragons just kept eating them until there was no more left, and they died out.
That's I feel like they could potentially go for the space dragons, just because the space dragons, aka the gods, aka the ring entities that were like, kill things. If they want to be able to transit, and be able to move potentially and exert their will or military might on other settlements, because Laconia being Martian is probably war focused. Once they become settled,
but-
they might kill us so that way they can become owners of the galaxy. potentially,
Sure,
type thing.
but the only reason I don't think that's what they're trying to defeat is like we know virtually nothing about
Yeah, we
them.
do.
We know virtually nothing. Like like
That's just my guess.
almost
Never
nothing.
known anything.
But more importantly, like what are they actually what are they stopping? The only thing I can think Duarte, his reason at all would be that the ship with what's his name,
Marco Inaros?
No, with the Martian guy who was transiting through and
Servitor.
Servitor. Yeah, maybe like he's didn't take that loss well, but I don't know.
I disagree. I think Duarte was like, "Sweet, I'm in command."
Yeah, that kind of.
Yeah, maybe, but I
so.
don't
I agree with
see what reason he would have to be like, we're gonna kill those fuckers. Like, you know, I don't see why they would do that.
Well, it seems like they're kind of a fanatical war cult. So I mean, the real answer could be because that's what they think is best.
Or he could have meant Earth and Mars as the gods.
That could be as well.
You know.
Now
I don't know.
What? I'll show you another comment. So I have some comments.
I'm sure there's some layers to it being called Laconia, and them wanting to kill Mars and Gaia, which are both considered.
Yeah, so we're gonna do comments for a little more, and then we have a decent amount of viewer questions, right? That were submitted earlier.
Yeah, I have some of those. So I'm gonna jump to those right now, actually.
Okay.
All
right.
Okay. I'll go back to the comments on the stream, so you guys can leave some more questions on the stream, just rapid fire, then we'll go through them. This one is from. We'll start with this in order of the view comments. Mr. Beatrix. I don't know how to pronounce it. Beatrix. Guys, really enjoyed your journey. Thank you. My point discussion is the following regarding Laconia. Remember that all the builders and machinery and artifacts on Illis came alive. Only the tiny glob of proto molecule on board or Sonante came close enough on Illis. Okay. Remember that Marco bought his navy from the Splinter faction for the proto molecule. Laconia was chosen apparently for the presence of the orbital structures. We see quarters are happy about it. You know, the first time they see him. So obviously, Laconia is different than most planets because it has orbits and structural orbital structures.
Yeah.
And so we can infer that they managed to use it protomolecule to turn it on basically by knowing what happened in the first time. You know how the proximity caused Illis to turn on.
Sure.
It does. So they can use it. So it does seem like the shipyard is from. So you pointed out, and it's something particularly built when they arrive. Maybe a ship abandoned mid-construction, which has been shown to expand since they activate it, meaning potentially could have a working builder ship of some sort in the future, which would put them by level of technology massively overpowered versus the Rain systems. So so basically, I think this theory is saying because they entered and there's builder technology here and they're able to activate it and use it versus the rest of the actual Sol system having weaker technology. You know, they could potentially be able to, you know, have way advanced technology, especially because they're using builder technology instead of Martian technology, which we see based on the Laconian railgun that they used.
The railguns, yeah.
So it already shows that maybe this planet has some sort of technological advantage by having a pre-built shipyard. I think that's the discussion. So is what they're trying to ask is discuss having like a shipyard already there and what it means for the rest of the.
But what's the question?
It was a point to discuss.
Oh, okay.
The fact that there's a shipyard building.
I mean, I was talking about that.
Yeah, that we just talked about.
But that in particular is talking about: do we think that it is to invade the Sol system and fight?
Well, that's why I said the God statement could refer to Earth and Mars.
And if we're going off that discussion with that leading line of information, I mean, it makes sense.
It would make sense because he also, to some degree, backed Marco Inaros.
Yes.
And
which
yes. Oh, yeah. No, the moment. Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Good
no.
luck.
But I do wonder. I do
Or
wonder
not.
what he was supposed to give Marco that he didn't.
Ships, maybe.
Builder ship.
Maybe the builder ship. Yeah.
I don't. We all agreed on that. That was probably the most likely.
Yeah, but he didn't get it. Maybe the builder ship had such technology that it could have just
I don't know. I just think it's
beaten the
funny
fleets.
that no one else has the information that there was a builder ship in orbit there. You know,
Yeah,
it doesn't seem like anyone else other than the Martians.
Clearly,
now.
Laconia was
Well,
mapped
that's 'cause
because
it's
they selected
minefields.
it.
Yeah. No,
Which means like how.
they had 1,300 options, and they were like, "That one, please."
Well, Laconia deployed minefields outside their gate.
Yes,
so they can't
yeah.
get there,
But I also think I think that's so Marco in the fact that he was just like, "Okay, that sounds good. You can have that one." You know,
That's
it was
the
like, "Why that one?"
Hold on, that's a point that you brought up a couple times, and I'm now realizing that doesn't even make sense.
What?
Space mines? Because all of these ships have like a ton of drones. You
And
just send the
ordnance.
drones into them.
Yeah.
You don't even need. I mean, like
I don't
maybe
know.
it's more expensive and it's impractical because you
Well,
mess with their infrastructure.
we
But,
don't-
It's not like you're blowing up capital.
Hold on.
ships with mines.
We don't know. It also, he literally could have meant their mines that will detonate the ring to Laconia.
I thought the ring's indestructible as of right now.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure they could kill the ring if they
'Cause
wanted to,
didn't
but they do that. It'll piss off the builders.
We don't know.
Or
I'm just saying
station
they
inside
didn't
it.
elaborate on the mine. I don't think they're just big like ocean-esque mines floating in
I think
space.
they
like,
are.
yeah.
I think they are.
I think they are,
And that's
too.
why I'm like, what is the purpose of this? Is it just for like, if like a random
Dissuasion.
belter just comes in and is like, ha ha, and it just,
Well, what do mines do in real life? They're indiscriminate, so that's why.
yeah, but the mines are you mine harbors and stuff to make sure that like there's no real travel between them. But that's because you don't have.
Yeah, there's no submarines in
But
space.
like now, there's already
Stealth
autonomous
ships.
drones that go underwater to disarm mines or detonate them.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Don't think too much into it.
The whole show's about thinking too much into it.
This isn't a question, but a compliment to Joe. Joe, as a guardian of spoilers for so much of this series, the sheer difficulty of keeping a poker face, especially when some of the outlandish leaps and theorizing landed almost perfectly on the outcome, must have been excruciating at some times. Blessed be the people who can rewatch something with others and potentially provide context without venturing into spoiler territory. In this case, occasionally asking some leading questions to steer things back in the right direction without making it patently obvious.
Yeah,
Tip of the cap to Joe, and then the next time it goes, yeah, I was constantly amazed at how Joe was with keeping a straight face. Both Mike and Mikey were so close on their instant checks. He also looked so happy to get up to date like a kid at Christmas. And magic was now new and fresh, and Joe was the friend we all wish we had.
Well, first of all, I love that comment. That made me really happy. I would say just in response to that, I feel like it was maybe like the first like 2 seasons. There were points in time where you guys did keep getting hung up on random shit that didn't
Mormons,
matter.
parents.
Yeah, like the Mormons and the parents. So I think earlier on I would kind of try to help you guys like
I don't blame him.
theorize in the right direction. And I know some people were like, hey, you probably just don't do that. Like, let it just happen organically. So I kind of moved away from doing that. I don't regret doing that, but I don't think I ever gave anything away or
No, but
or
on rewatch,
anything.
No, you did a really good job.
On rewatch,
I mean, the only thing I think I consistently did was like, man, I can't believe how, like, season 1 we finished, and in the discussion, I'm like, you guys, I can't believe the references they have in here, because it's going to be like 6 months from now that we're going to get to see the payoff for the references
like the
they're
throwing
making.
rocks thing. Jesus
Yes,
Christ.
and they make like 3 or 4 in season 1. I'm like, what are they doing? They're like wilding out.
now, my question for the fans while we go through the comments, we're going to get to your questions, don't worry. What is something that you were very surprised that me and Mike guessed right? And what is something that you're surprised that we were close to but then ventured off? And tell us your favorite outlandish theory that never panned through. Just some questions to you.
Is that to me?
To them. To the fans and in the comments right now, the channel.
He's talking to them to say like,
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I have one from...
it's Space Dragons. I mean,
Gotcha.
That's what
That was the
everyone's-
question. Gotcha.
That's everyone's favorite prediction.
That never came true.
What do you mean? They're Space
So,
Dragons.
have you seen the names of the people, by the way, when the last episode before they were dropped on the ring? I know Mike has because of Discord. But it's a lot of references to like sci-fi characters.
Yes, yeah, I saw that
And
comment.
Avasarala's phone contacts are all references to characters who have been recast. Like Vivian Banks is in there from like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, as well as other characters. It says Doctor Who and stuff like that in her phone.
Huh.
So it's like a little Easter eggs.
Just good.
And the guy who shoots a rocket at Bobby is using the BFG from Doom. I'm pretty sure. And I looked at it.
Really?
I'm like, yeah, it's pretty funny. They have a bunch of things like that we never noticed.
Easter eggy.
Question. When was the first moment each of you said progressively? Sorry, I read that wrong. What question from Rodent? Was there a moment when each of you said to yourselves, "Okay, I love this show"?
Well, this isn't my first time watching it.
Well, the first time you watched it.
I mean, I think it was like literally episode 1.
I have to say, episode 1 hooked me real
Like,
hard.
I don't.
The stakes were high.
I
immediately.
believe when my brother and I first started watching it, I think we literally watched all of season 1 in one sitting. And we didn't like look into it and we were like, oh, this sounds really good. We just like randomly were looking for something to watch on a Sunday and then just binged the entire first season. I'm pretty sure.
The first 2 episodes, I was like, this is a good show, but it really didn't like hook me. I mean, it's probably, again, episode 3 where, you know, Avasarala did her thing. But
Shed
the
dies.
moment was, when Shed got murdered. I was like, okay, it's one of those shows.
Yeah, and at the end of was it the end of
I
that
actually
episode?
love that they were like, oh yeah, the comedic relief guy, fucking dead.
Is at the end of the episode.
This isn't that show.
where Miller's partner gets hung up on the wall.
If it's not 3, it's 4, I think.
I think it's 3. That one. Then I would say 3 actually is the one where I got hooked too. One got me interested. 2 was okay, and then 3 was like the real like nail in the coffin. Bad phrasing. But yeah, that's that for me. Next question. We're talking about the shows of writing quality, both sports media. Okay. Oh, this isn't a question, but I'm going to infer this from the question. Will we ever play the tabletop game for this? If we find it.
Tabletop game?
There's a
Yeah, to
tabletop
my
game.
understanding, it's pretty.
Board
It's,
game or tabletop
There's
game?
both.
Tabletop game, I don't know, because I have to run that, and I don't know if you guys would actually want to play it.
I would play it. Maybe we get Taylor to play it.
well,
us too.
it's like a D&D variant, right?
It would probably be some style of that.
I mean,
We could give it a try.
I mean, it would probably be something like GURPS or Savage
yeah,
Worlds
because
systems.
the board game.
not
I mean,
rare.
I've heard good things, but yeah, I don't know how easy it would be.
We
to
could look
get.
for a copy of the board game eventually too.
'Cause-
Not anytime
Well,
soon. When we
As you said, we are planning on playing the video game at least.
yeah, we'll play the video game at least. But I'm interested in trying it out, especially because having watched the show,
We have played D&D.
we have played
lightly.
D&D. We've played tabletop stuff. I've even ran Star Wars D&D.
You have run Star Wars, and he
So,
did a very good job of it.
I'm good with space
He
running.
might actually be better DM for
Space.
The Expanse.
Good with space. I'm better with space.
And plus, if we ever do, I mean, that's definitely something we could do.
Yeah, sure.
Live
We could do it
Yeah,
live.
absolutely.
Now,
or record at least. Probably
question,
not
any
live,
clues
'cause it'll
the show
suck.
would replace? Okay, this is a good question from Roden also. Do you have any idea or any clues that the show will go to the places it went and as large as it had?
Based on our whiteboards, yes and no.
So technically we were pretty good
But
at
you
predicting
guys,
stuff.
we didn't even start the whiteboard for like a couple seasons.
We still whiteboarded.
We should start that for. By the way, we're gonna use that for the Battlestar Galactica Cylons now.
Yeah. I saw that comment. That's,
That's
a good idea,
isn't that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Besides that, though, did I know it was going to go this big? I feel like as soon as we knew we were bouncing across the whole solar system, I knew we were going to be some type of grand scale thing going on that was either going to end in some sort of war or revolution from the belts, which kind of happened both ways.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the other thing
Yeah.
is I think we were on season 2, and I was like, yep, I support Mars in the war, and then there was no real war.
And then after that,
So,
I wasn't
we
sure.
definitely-
Well,
Yeah.
it happens mainly in the background.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does happen in the
It's
background.
more of like a
South
plot
is-
point. Like
It's a setting.
Yeah.
It's a setting decision.
In terms of going into
I never
galactic
would've-
space travel,
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that.
I wouldn't have guessed that based on the scope of the show. I kind of got some Mass Effect vibes from the show initially, which I've come to learn that both of them pulled from the same source material, which is like some older sci-fi book, I believe. So they do have that extent of having this similar sci-fi, experience with those worlds. But I guess the proto-molecule was the one thing because I didn't expect that, because when I first was making theories, like the fans at first, I guess they misled us. They were like, there's no aliens or any type of that stuff in this show. And I'm like, well, technically there is.
Yeah, I mean, the
And you guys did it on
the
purpose,
first
probably. That's
season,
fine.
the first season did not
Yeah.
imply the magnitude that the show eventually
Yeah,
would become.
yeah, I would agree.
Because the first season, you're
It's
like,
a lot of
okay.
interfaction tension.
Yeah, you're expecting like there's going to be some subterfuge and war and spying and like and this is our plucky band of heroes. It's going to like save the day.
But the way season 1 ends is like, oh, there are aliens. Or alien something. Because that's like when the giant arm thing comes and like kills the spy guy,
Okay.
And then season 2 is when it crashes into season 2 is where it's like, hey, this show's about to get absolutely wild.
Yeah, man.
I agree.
Miller is such a strong character in the first two seasons.
Miller is so strong. I was surprised I didn't get upset when he died as much. I guess because they faked his death out once.
Well, it
we
seemed like-
had that one fake death, and then they brought it back for an episode, and then he was
Well,
gone.
no, I think
But
it's
because he
Miller's-
doesn't truly die until he's like the dog.
No, because we talked about this.
You know?
We talked about this when Miller died. It could be his arc was perfect. Like
It was.
He ended up where he needed and wanted to be, which
can't be
was
sad,
by
yeah.
Julie's
And
side.
it was his.
It wasn't a
It was
sad
his
death.
sacrifice
Yeah.
he chose to make.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
that's
I
why
agree.
we weren't
Oh, yeah.
upset with his death because
Yeah.
it was
No.
perfect.
I
Yeah.
have to agree with that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 Anything else? Or should I go to the comments now?
Now let's just keep. Do we have a lot to?
No, we have YouTube comments now from the video.
Yeah.
On
Oh,
the,
okay.
on the stream.
Okay.
So this one, Dimitri asks, has anybody been spoiled by anything in the comments? I was spoiled by
Yeah,
the-
you were.
little bit.
by
Yeah, you were.
I think two things. The first thing was I think it confirmed my theory, which it technically became a spoiler because we weren't supposed to know. But was the space? It was the finery or lithium thing on Illis was one of them.
That was a big one. They were like, Mikey, that is a spoiler.
Yeah.
First one being
Yep.
somebody spoiled. I guess it was another Illis thing that one of the comments I just remember specifically. I was like, oh, probably shouldn't have read that one. Was Amos with his bloody smile. They're like, I can't wait for Amos to have his bloody smile. And I was like, the first season somebody left that as a comment. And I was like, what does that mean? So because it wasn't much of a spoiler.
See, that's pseudo vague enough that
it made me think Amos was gonna go rabid throughout the whole series.
Sure, but that's like right on the cusp of like that's. I mean, obviously, don't love to see it, but that's okay. That's like as spoiler, like that's as much of a spoiler as you should give.
Yeah, but that was also
what I mean.
Enough that made me like pay attention to Amos's character's interactions with everybody way more because I was like, is he gonna go crazy? And then somewhat got reinforced by the TV show. But
I think an important factor here, Mikey, is you don't forget. So you like read it, and it's like,
yeah, no.
Like I read it, I'm like, oh yeah, cool, and that's it. But I feel like you don't forget.
I avoided reading YouTube comments the entire time.
I read a lot. I read a lot of them, and I felt like a lot of them, it was more so just can't wait for you guys to watch episode 4. It's so crazy, or it gets really good here. So, because that's more just a like
excitement.
Yeah, but I mean, it can build hype in the right way too. I guess I don't know. But again, that's not a spoiler. It's just kind of like taking some of the unknown.
It's like if you're. But it's like if you hear like the reviews for a movie.
I mean, they weren't spoilers for me. Well, like I don't think I saw a single one.
Up. Instead of going in, blind, you're going ready with a certain level of being like, hey, this episode is going to be great, or this episode is going to be meh, or this season can be pretty meh.
Well, going off that, the one thing I didn't like that we would do is that we would announce like, oh, only 3 more episodes until the finale of this season, because I just watched a new show and it was only 1 season. I didn't pay attention to what episode I was on, so the pacing was a mystery, which added to the whole thing. Because then when the finale like popped off, I was like,
we started to do that at the end. Remember?
I was like, this is crazy.
Well, we kind of have to know about what episode. That's why
I know we have.
Sometimes we have reactions. People say you guys are taking the blind part literally. It's like, well, we want to go in as blind as as uninfluenced as possible for situations.
I did just remember there was a really bad comment, like in season 1 or 2. And it was Alex had his first like great flight moment, and we were like, man, Alex is great. And then one of the comments, I believe it was along the lines of like, you guys might like him now, but you won't miss him. And I'm just like, that's not cool.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah, no, I deleted it.
Oh, okay.
So.
I think
that was literally like the only one I deleted.
If somebody found their comments deleted, sometimes if I started to read a comment and I thought it was going to go to a spoiler way, I deleted it usually initially. But now I just I'll just scroll past like some of them fast if they're not like too big. Cause, like I don't want to see, I'll just like look for the ones that are like saying, hey, you guys, good job, or like because sometimes the big comments I cautiously skim until I know the names of the people posting them because. For example, people in the chat right now.
Yeah, we're getting more and more familiar with people.
But like random people come in and post a paragraph, and I could read through the entire paragraph, and halfway through they could be like, "Oh yeah, and also Alex dies," and I'm like,
"Well, that's why I deleted the one I just said."
I know. I'm referencing what you said. Yeah. Now from one of the fans, let's read this one.
Especially if you read that and didn't know, and you read that at season 1, you'd be waiting a long time for that.
I feel like you would have forgot by then. You'd be like, I guess he's not.
Yeah. So, Christina asks, what do you guys think is Martian philosophy ultimate goal politically? That is. Also, make an attempt to talk directly into the mic. Sorry.
What's the question?
First off, we're going to talk directly into the mic. I'm sorry. When we do stuff.
You're mumbling 2 feet from
I am.
Away.
It's me, but I always verbalize stuff like this so we can get it. What do you guys think Martian philosophy was? Ultimate goal politically? I think it was just to find a place to live and be, colonize it.
Well,
we're talking
it says
Mars,
Martian philosophy politically.
Yeah, it says Martian politically philosophy, and then it says ultimate goal politically. What do you think it is?
Ultimate goal politically?
For the Martians.
I mean, their ultimate goal politically, they kind of succeeded, which was they wanted to be their own nation and have their own planet that was better than Earth.
Yeah, which Laconia kind of seems like.
Which
it might be awful, but it seems like.
Well, I actually think it's hysterical because they're so united, and then they get like a cheat code essentially of like, hey, do you want to skip like 100 years and just like skip the whole terraforming process and just go there? And they're like, yeah, we do. And then it all crumbles real fast.
Now,
which is kind of real.
It is kind of real.
Yeah, it is real as fuck. I also think the other half of that being real as fuck is they're like, Yeah, we don't need to worry about waging war anymore because we can just fucking leave. So I think that is the other.
Sell off the whole planet. We're leaving.
I agree. Technically, maybe a few more comments. You want to go through them?
Yeah.
Make sure you guys are good. So
I hate it here.
This isn't Clone Wars.
So,
This is my house.
This is Joe's house. Some fans are saying that actually Marco receiving aid from Laconia, the railguns, were the initial obligation, and he was owed nothing.
I mean,
after
it's
that.
a massive fucking thing
is.
because they also what I wasn't sure was I know the railguns were really like good
Yeah.
or whatever, but I love that they tied it into that they bolted them onto the structure in the middle because it
Inertialess?
doesn't move.
Yeah, that's actually a really smart idea.
Yeah, that was
That's
ingenious.
Belter ingenuity. To be
And
honest.
I love that. Well, the only Belter ingenuity better than that is like, how do we get around that? It's like let's just throw a fuck ton of stuff at it
Naomi being
simultaneously,
Naomi,
which I thought was, I was like, I guess so, but it was also such a gamble because they were like, okay, we're gonna put one of you in each of 20 of these containers.
Good luck.
Good luck, bye.
So,
You know,
this comment is from Dimitri. It's obviously a funny comment. It says, it's a question. Could you imagine if Holden's parents were actually Mormons?
That would just have blown my absolute mind. I'd be like, Holden is a sleeper agent for the Mormon army that has the stealth ships so that they can escape the galaxy.
you know
No
what
one
is
can-
actually really funny? The funny thing about the whole Mormon arc, though, and originally with the ship,
Yeah.
is like they're right though. There are other planets out
They're
there.
better, and
Yeah.
you can just go
Do
there.
you think the Mormons bought a charter to one of the rings?
That's
while they
actually a
could?
good point. Do you think the Mormons were allowed to go through the ring since they were supposed to, and then the belt, which is Medina Station,
I'm
just kind of
sure, even though they never specifically said it, that
I feel like they owed that.
they were a large portion of the colonists.
I would
for
hope
sure.
so.
I would imagine
well,
because
I'm
it
saying-
also seemed like they had the money.
Well,
to
I'm not
do
talking
it.
about their motive, because obviously their motive would be to go through the ring. Do you think that they probably off-screen got some allowance to go through the ring to a planet since Medina Station was literally supposed to do that for them?
No, I'm gonna say not in any more capacity than anyone else, to my
Those
understanding.
Mormons got fucked.
So.
We got another comment. This one's for Joe. Joe, was there anything that we noticed that you didn't notice on the first watch?
There's definitely well, Mikey, you definitely know specifically with
flag attack.
That's my favorite thing. I was yelling about. I thought it was the Mormons.
yeah, but yeah, I was gonna say the false flag. You were right on false flag. You were wrong on whose false flag it was. Was definitely you really once again kudos for the Marco Naros reveal and you being like
absolutely
because
wild.
like you yeah I'm just gonna say that because I didn't catch that.
Your Marco.
The entire asteroid plan and them having the stealth composite on it. I
Just
mean,
randomly you were like, Marcus throwing rocks.
you
at her,"
were
and we're like,
literally
"What?"
the Charlie Day meme of the red strings everywhere, and you
That-
were like, it all makes sense.
That happened to be right around when I was doing the full length, so I was watching
Yeah,
them.
you were rewatching
but
it
as
every
far as like, so I would say when I watched it versus you watching it, you had the advantage of watching it more than once technically. But I would say you putting that together, I definitely didn't catch that watching it my first time. But stuff I actually just didn't notice. I would say your acute fixation on Amos definitely revealed a lot of things that I did not notice the first time. You were like, his back's always to the wall. Even though I was also paying attention and noticing those things another time
you
around.
said that to me. You brought it
Yeah.
up the first time. You're like, pay attention to his back against the wall. So I was like, oh yeah. I'm like, his back
You
is
made him
always.
hyperfixate.
Yeah, I guess so.
Somebody mentions something, I always hyperfixate. That's how I am.
And then, Mike, did you?
I don't know. Dude, I'm the only one who watched it once.
Mike,
Yeah.
Mike,
I was at a disadvantage.
Mike, what was your prediction? You have some good predictions. Unfortunately, I can't remember. I'll predict. Some of the fans have some comments about what they like that we predicted.
Okay, all right, yeah. So I'm gonna say Marco Naros for
Technology
you.
for the rocks that came straight from nowhere.
Wait, what?
The guess about the technology for the rocks coming from nowhere, like you thought the stealth rocks with Marcos.
Oh, for you
Yeah,
guessing.
and that was because one, I was rewatching the show with my mom, who just started. My mom's actually on season 4, almost on season 4 already. She's blown
Okay.
through it. It's very fun to see that because she'll like ask me questions about stuff, and she's looking stuff up, and she's like, She sent me a thing, and it was like 10 things that happen to characters after The Expanse. I'm like, you're on season 4, Mom. What are you doing?
I do have to ask you one question.
Yeah.
Did she also approach you and she's like, "What's up with the Mormons? What happened to the Mormons?
No.
Why were they important?"
No, why?
No, I was just curious.
No, and I showed Chris, Eddie's sister's fiance, or you know Eddie from our channel, some of you. I showed him it, and I was like, knowing the Belter torture scene about stealth composites, I was like, fucking stealth composites. It was so fresh in my brain that I was like, it makes sense that the only way you can get past these is the same. And they highlighted it earlier. The watchtowers only briefly found Martian first strike sites, and they had a very limited window.
And they did it.
Yeah, and that was only very briefly. So obviously these rocks would have to be very brief windows also, and they'd have to find them with these. So it was just the puzzle pieces coming together for me. Let's see. So Mike, apparently you had initial disdain for Carissa in season 3, episode 9. Not any particular theory you had, but just the fact that you had disdain for her, so you knew something was wrong with Clarissa when we first met her.
I mean, our first meeting her, by the end of that episode, she
someone.
murders an innocent dude, cries about it, and then crams his body into a locker.
That was crazy.
You know,
that was a crazy
like,
scene.
I dated
Yeah.
a girl like that. Not so much murdery, but just as crazy.
You also dated
so it was throwing up some big flags there.
Your wife's also named Elba.
Yeah, I know. So
That was the
her
best
being
part.
named Melba, I was like, yes. I too will be murdered and shoved
He's
into
like,
a
I have a
box."
Melba at home.
Elba's evil twin. Yeah.
Murdering Elba. Murderous Elba. Yeah.
Um,
We have a comment from Thomas again. Question: which death which death was the most impactful in your opinion?
Your favorite
Your
character.
person is mine.
Yeah.
I know mine. for
Mine.
this.
The death that was most impactful to me was Courtier dying,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But he was also pretty big to the story because he
Wow.
also he made it so that the proto molecule didn't.
That's
get
not what I
shit.
would have guessed
He
you were gonna
He
say.
also had a super selfless death.
Yeah,
He did.
super
He was
selfless.
just a homie all
He
the way
was
through.
a homie.
Yeah.
To the
he was.
story, the most important death was probably,
I mean,
probably Ashford was the most important. Death to the story.
that's the person's death that I felt was the most
I mean,
impactful.
you've got a whole bunch of people. I mean, just from the beginning.
I just loved
you have
Ashford,
Julie's
though.
death. You have Miller's death. We have Johnson's death. We have Alex's death. We have Ashford's death. There's a lot of deaths.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna say the most impactful for the show is absolutely Miller's death.
Miller's
though.
death is the most impactful.
It's the
Like,
most
well, I
impactful
guess
because
it's-
if he literally didn't do what he did, Earth would have been destroyed.
you're right. So it has.
So like,
It has to be Miller's
I
death.
mean,
Yeah.
actually overall, it's Miller by
You're-
like
you're
a
right.
mile. No one is even close.
You're correct. I'll
So-
trust you with that one then. I'll agree there. Anything else? Next one.
I mean, I don't know. Did
No,
you?
I mean, listen.
You agree with that?
You're
I
right
guess.
for plot point and for emotional damage. Definitely Courtier.
Emotional for me is Ashford.
What was the worst comment?
Because as he dies and he's like, they're about to shit him out the airlock, he's like, Sally,
I mean, listen.
go.
I was extremely distraught by it, but in turn, I'm standing with Mike.
Okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
Well, one of the comments asked, "What is the worst comment you've ever had?" One of the worst comments you've had. This is more from me and Joe, probably in terms of seeing. Joe already said the worst comment for him was the one with the spoiling about
About Alex.
dying. For me, it may have been the comment that about the space station, about the repair station. But in terms of worst, I don't consider that bad. I just consider that like somebody being over enthusiastic about the show. Not
Yeah, I would
intentionally trying to
agree.
spoil it. The worst comments were not on The Expanse. They're sometimes on other shows.
Oh yeah, I got a lot of hate comments on our Rogue One video.
So if you ever go back, if you watch our Rogue One videos, somebody actually said we can't do a channel with Mike because of how we reacted to Rogue One.
and that he was just terrible and awful in like every way, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And it
Not
was,
even about my laugh, just me as a person.
yeah,
I was
they're like,
wow.
is he high?
I'm gonna say there were. I mean, there.
There's some
But
memes-
it's
some
hard to say
comments
it's
every once in a
worst
while.
because it's I don't know, even negative comments are good feedback. Like, there were definitely a
Yeah.
few comments earlier on saying like, hey
Sound
Joe, like we
quality.
understand what you're doing with like making sure they're like understanding what's going on, but like be careful because it's a very fine line of towing the
yeah.
line. But I wouldn't say those are like I didn't feel any type of way about
No.
those.
feel like
I felt like it was useful
There's
feedback.
One out of every
So-
1,000 comments is mean, and that's a good thing because the internet's usually pretty mean.
Yeah, no, honestly,
One
the
out of every
community that
1,000.
we've had here at The
Yeah.
Expanse has
They-
been extremely wonderful.
They've taught me how to edit a little
Yeah.
bit better.
So-
When I
Yeah.
want a little more.
But again,
vocal.
but that's not
not-
negative.
I've
Like
gotten a few
negative.
negative ones. One of the ones I saw that was funny, that it's not negative, it was just funny, was get a job, losers. And I was like, we're all work full time. I'm like, what do you
Yeah,
mean?
we all work full time. Oh yeah. Did the viewers know what you do? I feel like
I
you've
know. I
said
talked
it.
about that. So,
Mikey's a
talk
doctor.
We could talk about. No, shut up. Not a doctor. Radiology. So we'll get into that discussion about that.
We'll wrap up with that.
We'll wrap up with
Okay.
that because it relates to the Expanse. Some of the worst comments we've had were in terms of my original edits were bad, so people were somewhat terrible in those comments. But the positive ones were very good, positive reinforcement in terms of how to fix things.
What makes it a bad versus a good comment is if it's a good comment if it's like, hey, not a fan of how you're doing that.
Or you suck.
You should probably do it this way. I think that's more like that's just better. Whereas you suck at this isn't really constructive.
I deleted one comment recently that was really mean, but I don't remember what it was about because I just looked at it. I was like, this is ridiculous. I was like, I don't care about that. But most stuff I leave up that are negative. Like one out of every like I said, 1 out of every 1,000 mean comments I delete.
But again, I feel normally it's negative with some like constructive point
or it's
in
targeting somebody in the TV show that it's like
yeah
so like
yeah
that,
there's definitely like
I'm like it's a TV show, come on.
Or there was one episode you guys more than me, I kind of towed neutrality, where you guys didn't really like Naomi very much at one point, and we got a little bit of like
that's what
we left that up too.
That's what made me really like her character arc is that she went from like the weird wibbly wobbly
I would agree. At that point,
hate her to wow, I actually really like her.
At that point in time, I don't think you're supposed to be liking her character.
No,
and then also one of the comments says that they changed her actions in the books to the TV show to make her actually a part of like a negative reason for the TV show. So let me see. Read out some other comments. Brand's board game is pretty good. Quality is too bad and price too high compared for the board game for Battlestar Galactica. Apparently has a good one, but
okay, so the Expanse board game is overpriced for what it is, but Battlestar is good.
Yes.
I mean,
I
got I have Terraforming Mars, which is like the Expanse.
We're not playing Terraforming Mars.
Or I have Eclipse, which is War in Space.
So Mars had one single goal, and then suddenly it wasn't there. Authoritarian states are fragile. Authorities brittle and collective. Mars states look like a police state after a while. So it makes sense, after a while. When Mars loses their collective goal, it became like a police state. And then people are scrambling to get to the new worlds. Because, when they lose their collective goal, there's not much else to do besides drink and...
but it kind of seemed like a lot of people just kind of gave up.
Exactly.
It didn't even seem like a lot of people were motivated to leave either.
And then when they make a new world, it's all military-based. So it's, so it's ruled by that.
Yeah, but I don't know if that's fair because that was because they abused their power to enact their plan.
Which one of Miller's deaths was your most impactful?
Which one of Miller's deaths? I'm still going to say when he finds Julie and he
I agree.
Makes Eros hit Saturn.
Just touching back on a previous point, the
or
board
Jupiter,
game I just checked, it sold for $50, but now if you want to copy, it's $200 to $300.
Yeah, no, it's way overpriced
so that's
now.
the problem.
Okay,
if it was $50, I would try it.
I've
we'll
actually
print it out ourselves.
I heard I mean, there's a good chance if and when we go to Gen Con this year that they have it available to play. Like they have a whole area where you can. Okay. Yeah, there's a chance.
Gonna keep going real quick though.
Let's keep an eye out.
What surprised us the most? I think surprising us the most was
interdimensional travel.
No, for me, the fact that the Canterbury.
I got a hot take on this one.
The Canterbury blowing up was pretty big, because I didn't expect the ship to die.
Sure, yeah,
that was the biggest.
And that's
I didn't
real.
Expect the Doniger to die.
That's what I meant. No, the Doniger. Oh yeah, the Doniger.
The Donnie.
The Doniger was like, this is the capital ship of the best navy in the galaxy, and then it's like. Kaboom.
That's true.
I'm gonna say the way Marco Naros dies.
Yeah.
To me is it's very abrupt. Yeah. Like before it happens, you had pretty much guessed it on the nose.
I hated it.
But yeah, I was hoping you were wrong. I wasn't like, oh, that sounds awesome. I hope you're right.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna say not that it wasn't fitting enough or I'm not satisfied. Whatever. I had been hoping for something
mad anticlimactic.
Yeah, whereas drummer or whatever, him actually getting to suffer instead, it's pretty much like.
Christina, what do you mean by pipes?
Pipes.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. One of the comments says, "What's in the pipes?" I don't know what pipes.
These.
The vapes? Those are
nicotine.
Yeah, it's nicotine.
If you're talking about the things that they keep hitting, those are nicotine vapes.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that. Part of the reason when we first started, I had to edit some of the full lengths or just put warning in front of them is that they were used in some of them because we didn't expect to do full lengths or just reactions, so I was able to edit them out sometimes.
Yeah.
But then we made an agreement that
We just don't vape during
yeah,
recording.
we were first casual about this. Now that we're full committed, I've asked for some compromises, and as a result, they get breaks.
But yeah, so I'd say Marco Naros.
Yes.
Did
Marco Naros,
you have anything to?
he
was the question again?
he said when the Doninger died.
Oh yes, he did say when the
That's
dinosaur
like the
died.
first one that was like.
Bobby Squad getting wiped out.
No, that wasn't that. I didn't think that was
Mars being abandoned was a huge like surprise.
Mars being abandoned.
Oh, you know
Rock
what?
Rock actually hitting Earth, and that
Rocks hitting Earth.
I actually
There's a lot.
something that actually surprised me a lot was like Jules Pierre Mao actually being punished and being murdered in prison is like actually, because it's so funny because it's like so opposite of what happens in the real world.
Oh.
It's like, oh, blue collar crime, like whatever.
It was
Meanwhile, he got the
it wasn't
full
impactful
treatment.
to like the story that much, but the fact that the Razorback was like in the story,
again.
and like very useful and
Yeah,
through seasons.
yeah, it did have multiple.
Because
Yeah,
we get that in the opening season that like they
Arrows
threatened to
too.
sell it. And
Arrow's
then-
turning into a spaceship.
like the whole show. I mean, come on. Using kids for proto-molecule hybrids did not expect to go dark like that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, or I also love the Jules Pierre flip flop on that. He's like, "You're a
can't do
madman.
this."
We can't do this. She's so cute. Look at her. She reminds me of my own daughter." And he's like, "Well, it's working." And he's like, "Yeah, I guess fuck the kids." Like,
Fuck them kids.
and I think that's the same episode. It's like start end, and
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I guess whatever
It was like a 5-minute scene.
for science. Like it's hysterical to
Because
me.
he sees him pull apart the person, he's like, "Yeah, we got to do it."
Yeah, no, I mean the whole show just has so many like.
It's great.
They're like, oh yeah, look at all this setup to like establish that it's safe here, and it's like, no, it's not.
I agree. Thomas also says, have you heard the new Terraforming Mars has an expansion called the Ares Expedition?
Yeah. Yep.
Do you have it?
No, I don't.
Step the game up.
We haven't played Terraforming
I have
Mars in a
literally
haven't played
all
board
of
games
the
in a
other
while.
expansions for it though.
We haven't played board games in a
I
while.
have colonies. Yeah, we have been absolutely binge
while.
playing
I got them addicted
Magic
to
the
Magic
Gathering.
back last summer, and it has taken over.
This summer. Previous summer.
Yeah,
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 Yeah.
it's been 8 months of degeneracy.
and I love it. So
Inject it. No other comments right now. If you guys have any questions, Joe, F them kids YouTube demonic.
yeah,
Marco was visually underwhelming as the show is. It emphasizes how horrific said death is. Suffered a lot. Yeah, I guess it makes sense.
what?
How Marco dying is underwhelming a little bit.
Extremely.
But how actually excruciating it probably was.
Yeah, well, I
Dematerialized.
did also
Yeah.
appreciate that he did die shamed and empty.
And his son left him. He was shamed because his son left
Which I
him.
like,
Facts.
which I did
Yeah,
appreciate
so good.
because
Good point.
I really, more than anything, I think the only thing that is good about the way he,
No,
It,
is Dr. Strickland the only 100% evil person on the character? 100% evil person on the show, Dr. Strickland. I think
100% because
Cortazar-
Jules Pierre Mao at least has like some.
Cortazar-
no, he's not 100%. He's got.
But Cortazar is not evil. He just has no emotion and is solely focused on the
You're right.
advancement of science.
You're right. You're right.
Isn't that what evil is? Is like without remorse.
Sure, I guess. Dr. Strickland's a
Dr. Strickland.
motherfucker.
He's a monster.
He's a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
He's a
evil.
monster.
Yeah, I have to.
His death is
understand
one
it
of the
is.
most justified in the entire show.
Yeah, because he's also like stomps around like, I'll tell him what's what, and then Jules Pierre Mao's like, shut up, dude.
What
He's
about?
like, yes,
I
yes,
mean,
sir.
If you want to talk about evil characters, it's also Dresden
Dresden, yeah.
for Eros.
Yeah,
You're right.
yeah,
okay,
yeah,
Dresden
yeah,
is 100%
yeah,
evil
yeah.
too. I
All
will
of
say.
the doctors working for Mao.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can never trust a doctor.
Because
I
I mean,
agree.
Marco's like at least he
Marco's-
has like the justifications,
Marco has
air
emotions,
quotes,
but-
like
Marco's pretty evil, but
Yeah.
Marco's more like what's the word I'm looking for? He's more of the gray area evil, where he's just like
he so believes he's justified in what he's doing at a
Yeah.
minimum.
Yeah, because he's doing it for the people.
he's closer to
Well,
like,
no, he's doing it for himself.
He says he's doing it for the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that I appreciated him dying. The one thing I do like about it is that he doesn't see it coming. You know, it just happens and it's over. Like the moment it's like he reacts and then he's dead. You know, so I guess I can appreciate
I agree.
that.
I mean, he's the difference here is that like Strickland, Dresden, all of these people are very intelligent, like lucid people that are doing these evil things.
Yes, yeah.
Whereas Marco's kind of got like a heavy touch of madness to how he is, because he's like switching between emotions very strongly, very suddenly.
Yeah.
He cares passionately about stuff, but then will go cold.
He's
like,
got a crazy ego.
Yeah, I mean, he's like the madness evil. Like,
Sure.
Whereas all of Mao's doctors are genuinely just remorseless.
Evil.
And just are trying to do it. Like Mercury, he's evil, but he's like capitalism evil, where it's like, bottom line, baby, everything else don't matter. Which is like, at least in our day and age, a little bit less evil than
also
the doctors.
There's also the guy who hung up a Miller's partner, Filat Cathari.
Yeah, but
that's more violent than evil.
Yeah, that was violence. I agree.
But also, a very nice comment that Mercury might be the most villainous of the antagonists.
Oh, absolutely.
So we had Dr. Strickland being evil, but Mercury is the actual
Mercury's also
villain.
got confidence.
Because he was doing it for his people. So you can't say, he's 100% evil because he's doing what's, legal.
I mean, he's a corporate henchman.
He's a corporate henchman.
But, I mean, I gotta agree. I mean, I think he's the perfect villain.
He is.
Because he's also realistic. He's cold, calculating, intelligent, ruthless. I mean, the dude's like perfectly well written.
Also, a reference. So you know how we say Naomi kills people with other things than weapons? She used the space dragons to kill Marco by shooting a bunch of stuff through it with her idea.
Yes, she did.
So Marco was killed by Naomi, but also by using the space dragon. So she uses worse ways to kill you than weapons.
Bro,
collateral.
Never would in my mind would I have guessed that Naomi tames the space dragons.
Yeah. Now, we have a couple more minutes. I'll close up this within the next 5-10 minutes, sparring any comments or anything. But we'll discuss. So I would bring up my history of radiology. So I do radiology for work, and one of those things I do for work is bone density. And it's interesting because this show is very science bound, and bound in a lot.
They
of,
reference that a couple of times. Yeah.
So one of the things I thought of the first time when I saw belters, and they explain how they're long limbed and their body proportions, is they have a different body type. I think it's asthenic body type, so it's a body habit as they're called. And tall, skinny people have different body types because of their body shape, which means that because their rib cage is slightly different shaped, they have a different organ shape, and as a result, their lungs are different shaped. Belter lungs would probably be longer and more volume than regular lungs because they're longer.
Aren't they lankier though?
Belters
typically
they go longer though. But that also makes them more at risk for things like a potential spontaneous pneumothorax because their lungs are more narrow. They have risks while being in space.
What that word means.
Yeah, so you're saying your job has given you a particular insight of like stuff going on.
And one of the things going on in the show is that as I said, I do bone density and bone density exams. A lot of what bone density is genetic and diet based, but also exercise based and whatnot. But that's because we live on Earth. If you go out of Earth's gravity, you require a different bone density because your density in space is different, or on a planet is different. So your bones will grow different thickness as a result because you don't have to support the same weight or strength of gravity reinforced. Which is why Naomi had to take the injections into her bones.
And that's why Avasarala torturing the guy was just literally putting him on hooks and making him hang.
Right.
Correct, because the gravity was pulling down on his organs and everything in his body, and his body couldn't support it. That was more, I guess, his organs being pulled down and his lungs being heavy because he's not used to the weight. But
and I appreciate because they compared it to almost like waterboarding.
Exactly.
Cruel and unusual.
The bone density thing is interesting because Earthers can go anywhere because their bone density is thicker. Yeah. But they may lose some muscle mass while being in space because of the lower gravity. But a Belter and Martians, as we saw,
Martians it was to a lesser degree.
Yes,
right?
because they took drugs and they also were on a lower gravity.
High quality drugs.
Yes. But Martians,
they did have the best pharmaceuticals.
I was wondering though, because if
their bone density, they have risks. We're going to different planets because they have thinner bones, and you can't fix that unless you take drugs and their injections, which puts you at risks. Yeah, bone juice basically, premium bone juice, which Miller didn't get.
To tie into this, my work experience also gave me some valuable insight to the show, like being able to identify a Milwaukee pack out. There's just the containers they use. I'm like, hey, I know what that is. Oh, hey, look, the ship's named DeWalt. I use those. So that was my insightful job experience helping me with the show.
I mean, listen, I've got a very diverse resume, as you pointed out.
That's a great comment.
I can't pin anything in particular because
the dying in the vents with Joe. Remember that with the drummer and Ashford when they're pinned, and Ashford starts singing, and you're like, this is how it's gonna go for me. With him singing, till he goes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't have anything in particular that would really stand out.
I don't blame you. Now, so one of the things we have is what concepts and situations would you like to see more developed? Probably the straight war between Mars and Belt. And not Mars and Belt, I'm sorry, Mars and Earth. I would have liked to see that a little bit more
but you have
fleshed
to remember that's not
it's the focus of the show.
It's focused on the characters.
But that's what I want.
You know,
But that's what I want.
But they're also not soldiers directly.
But the Navy.
Plus, I actually think they did a really good job of showing the advancement of warfare even more in The Expanse, because it wasn't like a battle was 4 Martian Marines versus like 6 Earth Marines, and it's like, oh god, and then everything explodes.
I would totally be down to watch like an extended universe thing where they go into like all the different Belt factions and they do like styles of Peaky Blinders or something.
Sure, like
where you just see like the dirty underbelly of the Belt, like prior to this whole event, like a prequel. But
they totally
could. Golden Bow.
That's probably what the drummer TV show. That's probably what the drummer game is.
And you see like
Ashford. They definitely could if they did something earlier on where it's like the early formation of the Belt like stations.
As series gets like spun
as well as maybe the war between Earth and Mars for Mars to win its independence.
And like obviously you could then
sounds wild.
And like I'm sure there's some way you could do it for Mars. Like there's a lot of ways I feel like you could do an EU for this series, and because it's a good IP, it's a great IP.
Yeah.
The fact that like soon future expanding into the universe, Laconia is the big bad lurking behind the scenes. You have the Belt that's starting to become its own nation.
Maybe in like another 10, 20 years, we'll get The Expanse, Battlestar Galactica.
I gotta
go. So astronauts do lose bone density in long durations during 0G, which makes sense because lack of exercise would cause lower bone density.
Well, that's something I want to talk about. If Luna is so close to Earth and it's lower Gs and it's like we don't see a lot of it, but I mean, why the hell aren't all the old folks' homes on Luna?
I don't know.
Like honestly,
it's that way in Futurama, isn't it?
But you have to remember, it didn't seem like it was like. It didn't seem there was a lot of residences on Luna.
That's what I'm saying.
Like Luna was more of like a forward operating.
Well, we don't know about that though because it could
be like government offices.
Station.
Well, Luna's all underneath the surface of Mars. That's where the base is.
Sure.
It seemed like it was diplomatic.
But it's not like it had been developed to the point where it seemed like a lot of people could stay there.
Okay, but again, like they settled Mars and the asteroids, which means Luna's technically like around the corner.
Sure.
Now, questions. What do you guys think the story is going in future books / seasons? Earth and Laconia. Sharp, we had this one already, but I think we will answer it for who's. Kamina Drummer is the president of the Transport Union. What is Laconia doing? So obviously Belt is going to become stronger now that it's a little bit more unified. Now that Marco's gone. We have Earth and Mars in shambles, so they're probably going to be trying to rebuild.
The max exodus. No, I think will be the max exodus of people from Earth and Mars altogether.
And Laconia
because Earth is still dying. They were like, we fixed that. Like Earth is fucked.
Well, it's implied that like Prax's invention should be able to help for the most part.
Well, that helps with them being able to make food. That didn't help fix the planet from.
Yeah, but Mars
killing
has a bunch of terraforming equipment that's for sale on the open market.
Sure, but they even made a comment that didn't seem to be stopping anything. Remember?
So Belters don't live as long.
Yeah.
With Martian technology?
Well, I don't know if it was Martian specific.
That's what I'm saying. Like
I don't know. Look, but either way, Earth's still full of people who have no future, no jobs. Yeah, so I don't
ship out.
It seems. But now they can't technically because they don't know if it's safe to transit.
People will still take that risk. It's never been safe to transit to a new land.
Sure.
It will. Sure. Now, I don't think we have any more questions. So they do. The only comments that I will bring up, that some people brought up. One's from Andrew. Andrew says, Amos in the last episode says, I want to be looking in the eyes of the guy who punches my ticket out, but then he throws himself on Bobby, protecting him with her back.
Huh.
Yeah, but I think that was his like moment of like. He stopped thinking about himself and what he could do to protect the people around him. So that's
exactly, which just shows that he said one thing, but then he, when it's down to somebody's in trouble, he'll help them, even if it's Bobby. Now the next thing is,
I love that mini, the 5-minute clip we got with him and Bobby fighting. Was top tier.
So
That was the
Belters-
best one.
Yeah, absolutely.
The mini clip, it was great.
Yeah, that was the
Belters
best
don't live
one.
as long as Martians or Earthers. They have less children due to complications, which we saw like Ganymede and whatnot.
Yeah, I bet.
So they go into detail in the books about this apparently. So it's interesting to know, like different bone densities and whatnot.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Even though I'm not through the first book, it seems like there's a lot of
Bone
stuff that's in the
muscle.
books that did not make it to the TV.
Bone and muscle mass are lost during any type of astronaut stuff. So it seems like they do exercises in space right now to keep it. So they probably do the same thing on
But
Mars.
they still rotate them out pretty regularly because of that
Also,
degeneration.
there's a couple large shots of moon base showing it covered in city lights. Large lunar population is just never addressed in the show, but it's shown in the intro videos. Callisto checks on her medical scans and it says her life expectancy is about 5 years because of the mods. My theory is that when they develop the last 3 books, more seasons. So potentially the next 5 years. I mean, it makes sense. But, if Callisto dies because of her mod, all we have to do is just bring her Laconia. And she's probably fine.
I mean, I'll be honest. I totally think they could continue the show. And honestly, if they continued it with just a time skip and all new characters because they just can't get everyone from the previous cast.
Do you have to?
You know what I'm saying? Like if there's a time jump or whatever, I think time jumps can heal all wounds.
How is we supposed to have the Expanse without Space Jesus?
Well, Space Jesus.
Well, you
doesn't
have
his
Space
beard.
Jesus' son, which is the actual Space Jesus. Yeah.
Wow.
Get a
Okay,
Skywalker
okay.
in there.
Twin children, yes,
yeah.
of course.
Oh,
Fraternal twins.
No jobs, easy fix. Okay, so there's no jobs, easy fix pair of people, and then to find that there's a new jobs to care
But
for
I
each
have
other while
no-
everyone has a job. If there's no jobs, just pair everybody up and give them a job just to take care of the other person. That's their job now.
yeah. It's
right.
bulletproof.
That's some government
But
bureaucracy
I was
program.
gonna say, I feel like as far as the direction of the show, obviously the next season would be covering Laconia and all of the things that are going on there. But beyond that, like I have no idea.
No.
I assume just
I agree.
hopefully everything finally working itself out.
Bro, you know what's crazy? I just realized that it's perfect sci-fi warp technology because it's the same thing with Warhammer. Like you warp through the warp and you could risk dying in transit, but people still do that all the time. So like I don't even see a problem with how they have it. I don't even think the space dragons are really that relevant. They figured out the algorithm.
Yeah, you're right.
They can literally just like
And then send a bunch of stuff that has no one in it
yeah,
through. and
yeah, exactly. Like I think this is actually one of the more safe ways to FTL travel.
But yeah, I don't have anything else to add. I think we're good for the podcast. We had a nice hour 40 minutes with this.
Yeah.
This is our first attempt. Obviously, I'll go back and watch. There's some things that we can improve, but for our first one, I think I had a lot of fun with this. It was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
absolutely.
Thank you for all the viewers. I saw about 30 people max at one time in there, which was pretty cool for our first live stream on this.
Yeah, we really
Live
appreciate
interaction,
it.
pretty cool.
I hope everyone enjoyed it.
So
And
moving
a lot of good
forward,
questions.
Mike and I will be reading the books. Joe might join potentially at some point. Who knows? I'll put,
Will you read it to me?
yeah, if I read, then we will. We'll have reading time. No, and then Mike and I are going to be playing the game as well at some point, which we'll make an announcement ahead of time, so you could be there if you want. That is the Camino Drummer backstory game, I believe. So you can come join us if you don't want to watch it
Which sounds sick.
yourself. Sounds pretty sick. Other than that, I believe we're going to be signing off. Thank you for joining us for our first live stream podcast. We're going to try doing these in the future as more time goes on, as we improve our setup.
To wrap up shows, right?
To wrap
Like,
up
as the
shows,
final-
but then eventually, if we grow big enough, this could be like a weekly thing. If we,
We'll see how it goes.
Okay, I
Yeah.
mean definitely Battlestar.
Or monthly.
We definitely got to do this
yeah,
after
for
like
Battlestar.
Battlestar, Buffy, or
This will be like a monthly thing if it goes, well in the future for that ones. But we test the water with these ones.
okay.
Okay.
I mean,
if it's
this
not gonna go
went.
big enough.
You crushed it. You did a great job. I wasn't sure if this was all going to work out well, and you did great.
It's cool.
So
Thank you.
kudos as always, Mikey. Yeah.
No.
I was gonna do that anyway. All right,
yeah.
thank you guys for joining us. Thank you, friends, for joining us. We hope you see you next time in our reactions and our next discussion. Otherwise, we're signing off with 732 Review Crew. I'm Mikey,
I'm Joe.
And I'm Mike.
and this is Between Two